Can everyone see my slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm Ho Hong Leong, currently working as a full stack developer in DG. So before we start, I would like to thank you, HongTat and Daphne, for giving me this opportunity to share something with you all. And today our topic is Angular forms. So what are we going to cover today? So we will look into two types of Angular forms, template driven and also reactive driven forms. And we'll create the forms and apply some validations. So before we go into Angular forms, I would like to touch a bit on HTML forms elements. So as you can see in the picture, these are the basic elements that will consist in a form. So first we have a text box. So basically it is an one line input field for user to input like one line text, and password input is basically a password field similar to text box. However, what we input here will be must, and text area similar to text box, but uh, text area allows user to input multiple rows. Then we will have a drop-down list. So drop-down list is basically consists a set of values where user can maybe pick one or multiple values from the list. Then we will have checkbox. So basically allow user to take or untick and indicate true or false. Next will be radio button. So it's kind of similar to checkbox, but however, when it comes to a group of checkbox and a group of radio button only allow us to choose one value, and for checkbox we can actually choose for multiple. And lastly will be a button. So in Angular, there are three fundamental building blocks to build a form. So we have form control, form group, and also form array. So there are classes in Angular. So for now, it might be a bit hard to imagine or understand it, but we will be able to understand it better when we do coding. So what is the use of form control? So form control is basically used for track values and validation status of a control, basically an input, for example, the input field. And for form group, is used to track the value and validity state of a set of form controls. And lastly, we have form array. It is kind of similar to form group, but form array aggregates the value of the form controls into an array instead of an object. So the first form we're going to touch is template-driven forms. So this type of forms is more suitable for simple form, for example, like a login form. So this is because the form requires minimum and little coding, and most of the codes are in the template, which is the HTML. And however, due to the behavior of this form, creating unit tests for the validations is a bit hard. And for scalability could be a concern too. This is due to most of the code are done in HTML, and therefore when the code grows, right, it will be harder to maintain and read. So before we start coding, there's a module that we need to import into our app module. So the module that we're going to import is form module. So this module provides us a set of directives. So here we can see some. So these are the directives that we're going to use today. So ngForm is basically to help us to create a form group instance and bind it to a form so we can keep track of the form. ng model basically create a form control instance to keep track the single control. Then we have some validators. So basically, we can use this validator to validate the user inputs. So today we're going to create a simple form, a hero registration form. So in this form, we can see like we have a text box, we have some checkboxes, and also a button. So we will apply validations and also display error message. So let's start coding. So I will perhaps ng new Angular forms. So this might take some time. No. This might take some time. Okay. I hope everyone can see it clearly. So as I mentioned, okay, before that, we need to install Bootstrap. So we'll be using Bootstrap for styling. Then we can import it in style CSS. Bootstrap. So we can try ng surf. Okay. So we have our Angular application up. So we're going to app component. Perhaps we can delete this. We are not using this. So I'll open another terminal and generate new component, which we will call it hero registration form. Okay, so we can call it here. Ready with a class role, and let's create another div class md6. We can call hero registration form. Yeah. Let's see. Got it. So now, as I mentioned, we need to import a module, which is form module. And then we can import it from forms module from Angular forms. Okay, so we can go to our, okay, forget a comma here. Okay, so now we can go to our hero registration form template. So before we start something with Angular, perhaps we can create the simple form first with HTML code. Form, maybe draw a line, a div here, class, B6, and create a form. So in this form, we will need a label and an input field. So create a label here, hero name, and create an input with ID, maybe hero name, and it's a type of text, and give it a class of form control. Before that, let's create a div, and give it a class of form group. Okay. Save. So it is working. Let's open this. Okay. So now we'll create another label. So let's create another div, class of form group, and a label superpower, and we can create a div with a class of form check. Then we'll create a checkbox, ID, sidekick, type of checkbox, and it's a class of form control. Sorry, form check input, and we give it a label, paste, and create another one, which teleport, save, check, we got it work. Okay, maybe this will go to capital, and lastly, we'll create a button. So button with a class of btn and primary. We call it submit. Okay. So now we have the simple form. However, there's no functionality here. So we're going to add that now. So to do that, first we create a template variable and give it form and forms. So we can do something like this in component. We can create a submit, and we will get form value. Yeah, any, we return nothing, and we do a console log here with form value. Save, and we can do a click event here with submit, and we could use this template variable form dot value. Okay, so we can test. It's empty now because we haven't apply ng model to the controls. So we're going to do it now. So first for input, we can do something like this, ng model. And when we use ng model, we need to give another attribute called name. And for now, we'll name it hero. Save. And we will do for the checkbox too. Model, give a name, sidekick, model, name, teleport. Save, and we can type something here. Maybe we can call it HongTat, and superpower is teleport. We submit, and we can see it here. Now the values of the control is bind to the form. So this is how we get the value. So before we start to apply validations, I would like to show you something first. Okay, so in here, we can create another template variable for the hero name too, and give engine model here. So perhaps we throw hero name here, and so that we can see the console log. Okay. So let's type something, then submit. So here, you can see there are a lot of properties here, but to validate an input field, normally we will use a few properties here. So I can show in slide. So we have something like valid and invalid, basically to indicate the form or the control, is it valid or invalid? And we have pristine and dirty. So sorry, a bit noisy here. So pristine and dirty to indicate the control, is it edited? So basically means that when we refresh, now the state of hero name is pristine. And if we type something, then it will be dirty. So to show you that, submit, control, pristine is true. But when I type something, I submit, now control, pristine is false. So next we have touch and untouched. Is basically, I'll show you here. Let's refresh again. So now hero name is untouched. And if we click on it, then it will be true, means it's touched. So we will be using these values to validate, to check whether to display error message or not. So let's start applying some validations. So since this is a hero registration form, so the user must give hero name. So perhaps we can do something like this, required. And we save. If we go to our form, if we press submit now, we can see that error has an object and has a key of required is true. This indicates that there's an error here. So what is the error? Required is true. Basically saying that this input field has no value. So how can we display that? So create a div here, div, if. So we will be using the template variable hero name dot touch, because if we don't put this, when the user enter the form, they will see the error message pop up, even they didn't do anything. So another one is hero name dot invalid. So basically to show if the input field is invalid, then we show this div. So we'll give a class of alert warning. Okay, now to display error message, we can say that hero name is required. And if another ng if here, so we can delete this. Errors not required. Basically, this will be this. So when it's true, then we display this. So let's test. Let's try. Click on it. So now it's touch. I will move up. Hero name is required. So let's apply another validations here. Perhaps we can put min length, which is the minimum characters to have in this input field. Maybe we can put 3 and save. So go back. Maybe we type a character here. We pay, submit. So when we submit, we can see error because required, there's a value here, so required is gone. Now we have min length. Min length has another object. So here, actual length is the character we type here is 1, correct? And required length is 3. So we can make use of this field. So we can create another div here. Min length. Minimum length is, then we interpolation, copy this, dot length. We paste. So the tree here will generate dynamically. So if we change the min length 4, now the message will turn into 4. Okay, so yep, and we need to do another thing because now the form is invalid, but then the user is still able to submit. So we shouldn't allow the user to submit if the form is invalid. So we can do something like this. Line disable equal. So now we can make use of form dot invalid. So this button will disable when the form is invalid. So let's try. So now the button is disabled. So let's type again. Now it is able to submit now. So before we done this, let's put back form.value and save. So now we are done with template driven form. So now we will cover reactive driven form. So compared with template driven form, reactive is more suitable for complex form, especially when we need complex validations logic. It will be much simpler to implement using reactive form. And furthermore, reactive form, the code will focus on component instead of in the template. So with this behavior, we actually can create unit tests for our validator. And for reactive driven form, we also need to import another module so that we could create reactive forms. So basically, this module provide a similar directive as template driven forms. Forms module. So what is form control name? So form control name, basically we will use this to sync a form control in an existing form group. And for form builder, which is a provider that provide us synthetic sugar, so we can create the form, reactive form, in a cleaner way. So I will show that later. And we have similar validators here. So today we're going to create a hideout registration forms with reactive way. So here we have a hideout name, which is an input field, and city is a drop-down list, and hero here is a bit special. This one we will be using form array. So I'll cover this a bit later. So now we will focus on everything except hero first. And we have radio button and a button. So we will do similar thing here. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code. Now we will generate another component for hideout registration form. Enter. Okay, and we can close this and go to our app component HTML and copy this, paste it here, and we call it hideout registration form. Save. Okay, it works. So before we start coding, let's import the module first. Here, we will import another module called Reactive. Sorry for the firecrackers noise. My neighbor is actually celebrating. I hope you guys can hear. Okay, let's save and go back to our hideout form. So same. So we will create a form first. So okay. So hideout registration form, and draw another line and create a div with a class column MD6. Okay, and create a form. Enter. So we have label and input text box. Okay, let's create a div with a class form group and label here a hideout name. Okay, next input ID hideout name, give it a class form control, and this height equals to text. If okay, got it work. Sorry, then we will create a drop-down list. So before we start creating that, let's go to our component and define cities is an array of object. Then give it an ID, maybe 1. Then name, maybe I'll put Alam. And second one, ID 2, Subang. Save this. So we're going to use this to generate the drop-down list. So back to here, create another div, class group, and give it a label, call it city, and let's create a select with ID equals to city, class equals to from control. Here, we're going to create options with a ng4 to loop our city. So let's see of cities, find the value if c.id. So if the user choose Shah Alam, the value will be 1. If they choose Subang, then the value will be 2. Okay, and we're going to display the name. Let's save. Now we got it work. A drop-down list with 2 values. Next, for now we will skip hero. Next, we're going to create a label with a radio button. So let's go back to here and create another div with class equal group. Okay, then create a label here is hidden. Okay, now we're going to create a radio button, create div, class row, and create a label here. Put it yes. Let me call it no. Okay, so let's do it this way. Label, give it a class of MSM3, and same thing here. Then we will create a radio button here. Input, and we give it a type of radio, and we need to give it a name. Is hidden, and find the value if true. We don't need bind first, so we'll copy this. Sorry, this thing, and paste it here. But value with false. Save. Now we can see because it's a radio button, so we only can choose one. So what will happen if we don't give it a name? We save, and we're able to choose both because it's not group. So let's undo this, save. And lastly, let's create a button. Button, we give it an ID, need registration. Maybe no need, sorry. We give it a class, btn, array, and we call it submit. Okay, now we have the simple form without any functionality. So let's start with our component. So we need to apply controls and also from group here. So how we do that? So we can go to our component, then we can do something like this. First, we create another variables. We call it form. The type of form group. Okay, and in NV on init, maybe we can do something like this. This form equals to new form group, and form group will take an object. So put something like this, and now we have a form group. And here we have an input here, drop down list here, is hidden here. So maybe we need 1, 2, 3 controls. So we can do something like this to create control. So first we have city. So it's a new form control. And then this is default value. So the first argument that accept is the default value. So we'll give it empty string. Then validator. So in the template driven way, we apply the validator here, but with a reactive way, we actually apply it here. So we can perhaps make, we call validators dot required. Okay, then let's continue. It's hidden new form control. Because this is a radio button, perhaps give it a default value false. Next, hide out name, new, form, control with the string. So for hideout name, maybe we give it 2 validators. So how you do that? So give an array, then call it validators dot required, and maybe validator dot in length. So in length require number, so maybe we give it 3. Okay. Sorry, I missed out a comma here. And save. So now we got everything in component. So how can we apply it in the template? So we go back to the form. So here you bind form group equals to form, which is this. Save. And we have hideout name. So we can bind it here. So we're going to give an attribute called form control name. So hideout name. Save. So to show you that, maybe we can create another event just to submit. So save. Here, let's create submit y and console.log is from maybe value. Save. Go back to our form. Let's type something, maybe 1, 2, 3. Now we can see hideout is the value is bind to the form. However, city is not, and its hidden default value is false, but however, it's not being selected here. So let's fix that. So go to our component.html. So value, let's bind this. And then options here, we can give a control name. Sorry, it should be here. Okay, from control name equals to city. Copy this. From control name equals to is hidden. This paste it here. Save. Now xc empty, correct. That's maybe HTH in bang, and it's not hidden. Okay, we got it. Works. Okay. Now we're going to display the error message. So it's similar to template driven. Perhaps I can show you. Let's delete this. Save. If you press submit, you can see the form group. Then in controls, then in hideout name, you can see errors. It's very similar. Actually, it's similar and exactly the same as the template. So let's do it quick. Create another div here with a class of alert warning and only if and gif form, which is this dot controls dot hideout name dot touch, and let's copy this, paste it here with errors, and errors is for C. Save, and then we will display hideout name is required. Okay, so copy this. Okay. Yes. Here, delete this and dot required. Okay, let's check. Here, click outside. Header name is required. Okay, because we have two validator here, so let's create another here. Header name name is same thing. We can do something like this. And in name dot required name. Okay, let's save and try. See, it works the same. Okay, so let's apply for others control. So you can do something like this. If similar thing, space, and this is city. City starts, city has error. So give it a div, city is required. So we can use this space. City. Let's test. Here, I don't select. I click outside. City is required. So now we have so far applied some validations here, but we can actually create a custom validator. So how to create a custom validator? So let's start. Okay, so let's create a new folder, call it validators, and then create a new file. We can call it hideout name dot validators dot ps. Okay, so to create a custom validator, so first we export class, and then we call it hideout name validators. So here we can consist of multiple validator. So maybe we can create a check on make sure the hideout name has no maybe empty space. So make static cannot contain space, and it will accept controls, which is a type of abstract control. And these functions need to return validations error. So what is validations error? Basically as an object with a key and of type of any. So, or it will return now. So maybe we can do something like this. If control dot value, which is this control, as a string, and index of empty space greater than 1, greater than 0, then if this is true, we need to return validations error. So it's an object, then with a key. So maybe we can use this, cannot contain space equals to true. So this actually look very similar for the required I showed just now. So it's exactly the same. Object, key, and true. So if no, then let's return now. Okay. Save. So how can we apply in here? Maybe let's import first. Import this from a dot validator, hideout name validator. So we can append in the array, hideout name validator, and we can call not contain space. Save. And to display the error message, very similar. Let's copy this and cannot contain space, cannot contain space. Save. Let's try maybe H space H. See, it works. So this is a simple validator, but for example, in most of the registration form, let's say this is the username, and we type something, perhaps HTH. So actually in the backend, it will check whether this hideout name is valid or perhaps is the name being taken. So it's actually a sync function. So how can we do that? So we can go to here and create a same thing. Static. Maybe we can check is hideout name taken. So same thing, except control as abstract control. However, now we got not going to return validations error just like that. We're going to return promise if type of validations error or now. So because we're not going to call actual API, so we're going to use maybe timeout. So return new promise this and callback function resolve or reject. So we can call set timeout here, and set timeout will take callback function and the time. Maybe we set it 2 seconds. Okay, and check if control dot value equals to, maybe I put HTH, and we'll return resolve an object is name taken that equals true. Else, let's return resolve. No. Okay, so we have our first async validator. So go back to our component. So form control actually accept 3 inputs. So the last one will be async validator. So give a comma here, and we can give hideout validator dot is hideout name taken. Okay. So maybe let's create here. Let's hideout name taken, and we paste it here. Hideout name is taken. So let's try. Dot form. Let's type FTH. After 2 seconds, it will prompt hideout name is taken, but the user actually wouldn't know there's a validation ongoing. So what we can do, we can do something like this, and validating hideout name. So we only display this when form.controls.hideout name, and we can use this key pending. So this value will be true when if there's an async validations is ongoing. So let's try. We save this, and maybe we type something here. So we can see validating, and there's no error. Validating, and is taken. So that's for validations. Now, as I promised, we're going to look back at hero, which is the form array. So let me explain what's the behavior of hero. So when we press this plus button, it will dynamically generate an input field here. And we can enter as many as we want, but we need at least to put one value, hero name here. So how can we do that? So let's go back here, component. Maybe we can do like heroes, new, form, array, with empty array as a default value. So save to our HTML. So it is after cp. So we can create a div here, give a class of form group. Then give a label hero, and let's create the plus button plus with a class btn link. Then we need to give a click event add hero, and we need to disable this button if okay, let's handle this later on. Okay. To save, create that hero function. Yeah. Hero. Okay. So what we're going to do is dot form dot controls dot heroes. 3 point here. Push new form control empty value and validator required. Okay. So there's an error here. So maybe we can do something like this. Heroes control equals to as form array. Then we can do like this. Okay. So we have add hero. So now we're going to generate the view. So how to generate the view? After button, create a if and ng for. Then we will like control of. Okay, before that, we need something like this. A get heroes. You return form array. So we can do something like this. Base.form. Then we can use something like get. Get what property? We're going to get heroes as array. Save. And here we can heroes dot controls. And we need index si. So let's generate the input field, which is a class of form control, and a type of text, and then if find form control here, equals to form dot controls dot heroes controls I, which is the in-text. So it will grab the validator and apply it here. And since we're able to add, we also allow user to delete. So it's a negative, and minus string. Yeah, click here too. Equals remove hero with index I. So save in here. Let's create remove hero that will get index type of number, will return void, and copy this here, heroes control dot remove at index. That's it. Okay. So now we have our hero here, and we press, you can see there's an input field generated. If we press minus, then it will delete. But it is a bit ugly, so let's fix that. Where is it? Hero. So here, maybe we can do if and give it a class of input. See again. Okay, much better. So now we're going to display error message. So how can we do that? So here, first we need to indicate the user. We need to give one hero first. As of alert warning. Enter. Is at least one hero. Okay. Display ngif equals to form dot controls dot heroes value dot length. So when the length is 0, this div will display. Let's check. If we press, it will gone. So just now, this input field, actually there's a validator we create here. See, there's a required. So how can we display that? So go here, we can, perhaps not here. Yeah, okay. Let's create another div with class alert warning. Yeah, if ngif form dot control dot heroes dot controls I is touch and this whole thing as errors, and we will display hero name is required. If another ngif here equals to dot errors dot required. Okay, let's try. Add at least one hero. Press this. We click into the field. Click out. Hero name is required. Okay, something wrong here. There's a typo. Warning. Yep, we got it works. So the same thing. We need to disable submit button before user fulfill everything in the form. So let's do that. Find disabled equals to form.invalid or form controls dot zeros dot value is smaller than 1, or perhaps string. Now the button is disabled. Let's type on here, validating as. Let's choose shah alarm this time. Hero HongTat, and the button is enabled, and we are able to submit. So maybe here we put value. Submit. Now we can see city value is 1, which is our shah alarm. Heroes is an array. We have HongTat. We click another one, maybe name, and you can see it will append into the array. Then hideout name, and it's hidden false. Now it's true. So as I promised just now, we actually can make the code cleaner by using what? Form builder. So how can we do that? So we can do it in our form component. So instead of using new form group, new form array, a lot of noise here, we can do something like this. Private form builder, which is a type of form builder. Let's do it here. This dot form equals to this dot form builder dot group. So dot group basically is equivalent to new form group. So we give an object. So heroes equals to this dot form builder dot array. The array, see, from new form array become this. And let's do for the remaining city. For form control, we can just pass an array. Validators required is hidden to be false. Next is hideout name, array, and we can copy this, paste it here. So now we can comment this out, and from here, because we are still using the old way, let's comment this out too. Push is dot form builder is control and a and validator dot required. Okay, we save, try. Okay, it works the same. So hash we cannot hero at submit. So it behaves exactly the same. So by using form builder, we can reduce some noise from the old way to the form builder way. And next is our last slide. So which form to use? So actually there's no correct answer. There's no correct or wrong, but it basically depends on our requirements and the complexity of the form. So for example, you need something like custom validator, you need to unit test the validator, then I will recommend you to use Reactive. But however, for small form like login forms, maybe we can stick with template driven way. And yep, that is the sharing for today. Hello.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I think there were some questions in the chat, but HongTat has helped to answer that. Anyone else has any question? If not, actually, I have one question. So all these forms and validation, after Angular has built it, it will be all done on the client side. Am I right?
Yes.
On the browser itself.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, actually for the validation, if you view it on the client side, you get the faster response instead of you get the backend side. Yeah, if you trying to check at the backend side, right, every control we push back to the server to get the validation, it'll be slower. So it's recommended to do it in the front end as well as the back end.
So typically we'll check one round first in the front end, and then we'll check again when it's posted to the back end.
Yes, for server side, because we don't know how the user will abuse the API. So normally we'll check against every request coming from everywhere, not only from the UI.
Okay.
That is to protect the server.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone, or related or unrelated to forms? No? All clear? Okay, so if everyone is clear and there's no other messages, I'll just post the WhatsApp link, but I believe all of us here already joined. But if you haven't, we have a WhatsApp group for the study group discussion, and you're welcome to join to continue with our discussion. Okay, if there's no other question, we would like to thank Hong Leong for his comprehensive presentation on forms, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everyone, and happy Deepavali.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow for the ASP.NET session, and next week we'll have the deployment presentation from HongTat. Okay, yeah. I'll stop recording.